This section 7.5, it's just a little bit more complicated than it was before. The goal is still to solve for x. Sometimes you're going to have two radicals. Sometimes you're going to have something a little more complicated when you square on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to go through just a couple of sample problems. One of them you'll see what I mean when I talk about extraneous solutions. And then we'll go through the textbook check. And you guys can work on whatever you need to get either caught up or work on 7.5 web work. Retake the quiz if that's what you choose to do, whatever you need to do. All right, so let me just do a couple of examples. Okay, so I'm still trying to isolate the root.
Oh, you're going to plus x.
Yep, I'm going to add x. Square both sides. And is this x squared plus 1?
No.
No, why?
Because
There's always a middle term. Okay, so when I square the left, I just have 4x plus 1. When I square the right, I have x squared. Remember, to find the middle term, you take this times 2 plus 1. But there's a middle term. Okay, now what kind of equation is this with a square? What's that called? Is it a linear equation? Does the graph of this look like a line?
yeah.
Looks like a U or
It looks like a parabola. It's a quadratic, right? It has an x squared term.
yes.
Anytime you have an x squared in an equation, and that's the largest exponent, it's always going to be a parabola. It's called a quadratic. So to solve quadratics, we have to get everything to one side and set it equal to 0. Because x squared's on the right and it's positive, I'm going to move everything to the left. So I'm going to subtract 4x and subtract 1. Negative 2x minus 4x is negative 6x. Negative 1 plus 1. Yep. So I have x squared minus 6x. Yep. Now what? No. How do I solve this?
You add 6 to the right side.
Nope.
Oh, you take the square root.
Nope. What's common to both?
You take x out of both.
X.
And now what's x equal to?
X.
All right? Okay, now I'm going to take those two and go back and plug it in. So I have first 0, then 6. So 4 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. The square root of 1 is 1. And I've got 0 as my choice. Minus 0 equals negative 1. Is that true? No? 1 minus 0 is positive 1. So 0 is extraneous. It doesn't work. This is why you need to check your answers. Okay, the other choice is 6. 4 times 6 is 24 plus 1 is 25. Square root of 25 is 5. Minus 6 does, in fact, equal negative 1. So the only answer here is 6. Even though I got two answers, 0 doesn't work because I checked it. So if you report both answers and you don't check it, you're going to lose points on a quiz. Make sure you're checking both answers. Okay, let's do one more.
Okay, so negative 1 minus 0 is negative 1.
No, it's not negative 1 minus 0. If I put 0 in here,
Oh, you put 0 in. Okay.
the square root of 1 is 1. 1 minus 0 is 1, not negative 1.
I thought
Okay, next example. Let's do Just trying to find one that would be a good challenge here. Let's do q plus 3, 2 times let's do, this should be x cubed plus 8x. Square root of 9x squared minus 60. Okay, what do I do here?
And you want to get them by themselves. And so the very first thing is you want to find what's common to both of them.
No, I've got roots, square both sides. Square both sides. X cubed plus 8x equals 9x squared minus 60. Well, this is going to be a cubic, so I'm still going to get everything to one side. Is there something common to both? To all four? Can I pull anything out? Factor? Nope. Okay, so I could try factor by grouping. Pull an x squared out, I get x minus 9. Does 8 go into 60 evenly? No. So that's not going to work. So what do I do to solve a cubic? This is from last chapter. What do I do?
Well, you're not going to move it to the bottom. There's no like terms.
What are my possibles?
Oh, possibles are 1, negative 1, 20.
Okay, so I could start at the first number, work my way over, or what's a way I could get started? Graph it. I'm just going to put in x cubed minus 9x squared plus 8x plus 60. My first one that comes up is negative 2, so I'm just going to start with that one. Negative 2. Okay, and then I have x squared minus 11x plus 30. So that's going to be x minus 5, x minus 6, then I have x plus 2. Those are my factors. So my answers are negative 2, 5, and 6. So now I'm going to plug those all in to my original. Negative 2. Negative 2 cubed is negative 8. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. Negative 8 minus 16 is negative 24. And I take a square root of a negative. That won't work. Yeah, so that's negative 2 is not an answer. So 5. 5 cubed is 125. Plus 8 times 5 is 40. What's 125 plus 40? 165. So I have the square root of 165. And then here I have 5 squared is 25 times 9. 25 times 9 is what?
2225.
Minus 60. Okay, so that works. And then 6. What's 6 cubed?
6 cubed times 6 times 6. 36 times 6 is 216.
Plus 8 times 6, which is 48. 216 plus 48.
264.
264. And then what's 6 squared? 36 times 9 minus 60. 264. Okay, so 5 and 6 work, -2 doesn't. Getting the hang of this?
So could we have, okay, so on the graph it said that our,
Yeah, but I just wanted to, you can't forget how to do the work, because you'll have to do the work. Okay, so let's go through the text page. When squaring the right side, x minus 1 quantity squared, the answer would be x squared plus 1. False, there's always a middle term. To solve this equation, you would start by squaring both sides. No, what would you start with? False, what would you do? I would add that root over. So I have a root on the left, a root on the right, then I square both sides. Okay? To solve this equation, first you would cube both sides, because it's a cube root. After solving this equation, you get 21 and 5 as solutions. Is this correct? 5 is extraneous. So 6 times 5 is 30, minus 5 is 25, square root of 25 is 5. 5 minus 5 is 0, not -10. So 5 is extraneous. And the video for this section was by Mr. Witt. There it is.